We've had this self-isolation thing in our booths going for quite a long time. Now, I don't know about you, but I keep looking at the world around us right now and can't quite believe how fast things have changed since the coronavirus happened. A few months ago, it was something that I vaguely heard was happening in China, and now we're on lockdown. But for Peterborough-based journalist Kerry Allen, who is the China correspondent for BBC Monitoring, the coronavirus has been on her radar since the beginning of the year. Kerry is with me now, well, over the line, obviously, not in the studio. Kerry, firstly, how are you? You've been across this for so much longer than the rest of us. How are you feeling about it all?
I'm feeling fine. Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. I mean, in January we were hearing about this, and it was a new one for us, and we thought it was just going to be any other story. And then by February, it was just absolutely dominating. You know, not just mine, but every other China journalist's schedule, and we were overwhelmed by it. And now we're seeing this wave of it just affecting everybody all around the world. And yeah, I've had my ups and I've had my downs.
Tell me a little bit first about your role, because I've worked for the BBC for a long time and I've still never quite understood BBC monitoring. Probably shouldn't admit that on air, but if you could step in and tell us exactly what BBC monitoring does, that would be an eye-opener for me, to say the very least.
Yeah, we're a big team of translators. There's roughly, I think there's just over 200 of us, and we're based all around the world. So I think we've got 10 overseas bureau, and I'm obviously based in the UK, but we're all translators. And what we do is basically what a lot of people do when they finish work, which is either watch TV, read the newspaper, look on social media, but we do this in the languages that we speak. So it gives us an opportunity to look into that country and find out what people are talking about, what they're reading about, what they're seeing on TV. So, yeah, basically that's my job.
And tell me then about those early days in January when it wasn't on our radar at all, but you would have been picking it up on local media in China. Did anything sort of jump out? Did you think, oh, God, this is going to be massive?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that struck me first of all was that this was in Wuhan, which is, you know, a lot of people didn't know Wuhan before all of this, but I've been to Wuhan many times, and it's the equivalent in the UK of, I mean, the UK equivalent would be Birmingham. It's right in the centre. It's got a big transport hub, so that's where people change their flights, or they change at train stations if they're going from the far west to the far east, or vice versa. And yeah, we heard of a few cases, and that kind of, you know, was getting attention, but also the timing of this was very unusual. So it was just before Chinese New Year that we were hearing of people getting sick, and everybody at this time, it's kind of like Christmas. They want to get back to their families. They want to have a good time and celebrate, you know, the time with their loved ones. And this was something that was, yeah, we were hearing about, you know, hundreds of people suddenly getting ill, and then the whole nation, because this is a holiday that everybody takes all at the same time. So, yeah, very much like Christmas. You know, it's not just, you know, you take a week off. It's the whole country all travels at the same time. And then it became clear that this was going to be a big problem.
And at what point did you think this is a big problem, not just for China, but the rest of the world?
Oh, well, I mean, one of the things that was clear was that, I mean, China didn't close its borders. I mean, China's got a huge supply chain, so it sends a lot of goods to loads of different countries, and also there's a lot of international students and people who do trade overseas. And, you know, Wuhan was on everybody's radar, but people, because they were traveling through Wuhan, it was becoming clear that people were traveling to other parts of China as well. And then they getting international flights, for example. And yeah, I mean, I heard of suspected cases in the UK in, I think it was late January. So I was a bit concerned then, but then, yeah, when we were starting to hear that there were suspected cases in lots of different countries, I mean, I'm trying to think, the earliest one was either Thailand or Japan. They were the very early ones because they're border countries or close countries to China, so a lot of people would travel for just like a short Spring Festival holiday, Chinese New Year holiday. Yeah, then this would be, yeah, late January, early February, I was starting to think, oh, God, this is going to be a lot worse than we thought it was.
And now it's here in the UK. Have you been inundated with friends and family wanting to know more, as if you have some kind of insight that maybe we don't? And have you been hammering home the message to, you know, stay at home, keep safe? How pragmatic have you been about it?
Oh, I've been so pragmatic. I mean, there are days where it scares the life out of me, because I remember in the early stages, everybody, the reports that I was reading like in early January, they were all about how this was only affecting elderly people. But then I knew that it was also having an effect on China's healthcare system, that the doctors, the medics and nurses who were working on this, they were just pushed to the limit. They were working overtime. Many of them were getting sick either because of contact with the virus, or they were just so overworked that they were burning out and getting, having an effect on their mental health. And you just couldn't control it. So just thinking about the effect that had, I think about, and then, later cases hearing that it wasn't just elderly people who were dying. One thing I can't stress enough, though, some elderly people have survived this. There's even been a woman aged 103 who has been cured of the coronavirus. So if you're old, it doesn't mean that that's it. It's also killed young people. It's one of those things that just doesn't discriminate. And I think we don't know a lot about it. And for that reason, more than anything, we need to stay at home and just do the absolute most we can to look after those around us.
It was reported today that I think yesterday that the US has now overtaken China in its number of cases. Could you have envisaged that back in January?
Because China and the US are. I mean, there's a lot of they've had their ups and downs. They've had their frictions due to the trade war, but also a lot of Chinese people do travel to the US, and there's a lot of tension as well about, I mean, one of the things that's on my radar at the moment is how the US is going to come out of this, because it's becoming clear that the US doesn't, or does it, want China's help. So far, President Trump's been calling this a Chinese virus. He's been basically pointing the finger at China, and that's something that's really unsettled Asian communities in the US, Chinese people, the idea that he's been so critical of China, but it's one of those things that maybe he's been a bit short-sighted and you can't see that further down the line he might need China to supply medical supplies, ventilators, things like this, because China is a huge manufacturing hub.
Kerry, how are you feeling in terms of the next few weeks for the country? We've seen today that the number of deaths has gone up again today. It did look a few days ago that we're on par with Italy, just a couple of weeks behind. Where do you think the UK will look like in a few weeks from now?
It's going to get a lot worse. But one of the things, I'm trying to say is that if we do, as the government says, if we stay at home and we just try to, spend time in our gardens, not just go outside, just really kind of look after the people around us and just don't even take that chance, then, I know just by looking at the stuff that I've seen in China that we will come out the other end. I mean, it's now the case that a lot of people are getting back to a version of normal, so they're still wearing masks out on the street and taking precautions. And one of the things that's quite common is if people are going to, businesses are reopening again, they're having their temperature checked at these business premises. So if people do get sick later down the line, the government can monitor who was there, trace them, things like this. A version of normal will come back, but it will happen the sooner that we stay indoors. We don't take any extra kind of, if you want to go and see your family, just think, stay indoors for now, treat it as a week's holiday just from work, stay at home and just chill out.
Kerry, thank you so much for all that information and your insights this afternoon, and hopefully you can go back to enjoying the garden right now.
Thanks, Louise.
I'll speak to you very soon. Thank you.